Hello, fellow humans. Katrina here. Quick disclaimer, I'm a professional. I'm not your professional. Nothing I'm about to say is to be taken as medical, legal, or otherwise advice. This podcast is purely for education and amusement purposes. That is it. Disclaimer over. Today, I want to talk about what I don't know about space, not personal space or boundaries. I'm talking outer space. So, specifically, when humans first started going up there, checking things out, what we're doing up there in terms of different things, what planets are in our solar system, and then who's playing up in space now. I want to talk a little bit about each of those things. And I'll start with January 31st, 1958. So that was when this first satellite, they called it Explorer 1, that went up into orbit around Earth back in the 20th century. And then the first human that was in space, that was actually a Soviet guy, and I'll butcher his name, but try anyway. Yuri Gagarin. He made one orbit around the Earth back in 1961, and that day was April 12th. And he managed almost 2 hours. It was 108 minutes to orbit the Earth. And after that, President Kennedy decided to give the United States a super duper big goal. And this is a direct quote. "I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before the decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth." Well, don't you know, he went ahead and did that, or we went ahead and did that rather, because in 1969, I think it was Apollo 11, that's when the US sent the astronauts to the moon, and Mr. Neil Armstrong became the very first human to step on its surface. So now we have that space station actually up there all the time. The International Space Station is just a research lab in low Earth orbit. And I didn't know this until recently, but apparently there has not been all humans on Earth in over 20 years. And that's because there has been a continuous occupants of that International Space Station since the Expedition 1 in November back in 2000. So that's 21 years, or almost 21 years, rather. It'll be 21 in November. So I also want to talk about some of the planets that are in our solar system, just because they've changed over the years. When I was a kiddo, we learned about the 9. Well, they're still 9, but they're not the same 9. Starting nearest to the sun and working outward, we've got the following: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and then the possible planet 9. Now, once upon a time, there was Pluto, and it was called a planet. It was between Neptune and planet 9, or planet X. And I don't know why there's 2 names. Anybody else know why there's 2 names for one planet? Planet 9/planet X is one planet. And that one did not exist when I was a kiddo learning about space in school. So it was fun to do a little research on this to learn that it is something that's out there, but they haven't actually seen it. They've measured it. And so based on the measurements of the different gravity and stuff like that out there in space, then they're able to tell that there is a planet way far out there past Pluto. And so that's pretty cool to think about, that even within our solar system, there's more exploration to be done. I bet Mars is probably just the first one that we'll colonize, and then we'll have interstellar travel throughout the solar system eventually. In the future of space, I don't really know what there is. I know NASA is on a journey to Mars with a goal of actually sending humans there by the 2030s. That's only a decade away. They are making progress, I would say, since the 1970s. Well, that's maybe about 50 years. But it's a good thing we haven't colonized up there yet. I would say that one of the goals that the billionaires have of doing their space race is a little bit odd. So Jeff Bezos and that other dude, Richard Branson, have both been now and have plans to go back to space again. I wish I remembered the interview that I saw, but I saw Bezos talking about how all the polluting things that we do on Earth now can eventually be moved into space so we can keep the earth nice and healthy and pretty. Unfortunately, that means that we would be then polluting space. I don't know. That's got me puzzled. But that's all I have about space. A relatively short episode because I really don't know that much about space. So I don't have that much to say about it, except that it's pretty cool. And I today told you what I don't know about space exploration, the planets closest to us, and a bit about the billionaires playing up there these days. Personally, I would take some of that money and reinvest it into ending world hunger or something to that effect. Or at least that's the story I like to tell myself. Who knows? If I had the money to go to space, I might. But for now, I like it down here on Earth with gravity where things fall down. All right. I do appreciate each and every one of you simply for existing. Remember, if you want to, tell a friend and drop me a couple bucks.